Greetings, friends, and welcome to another Ministry of the Victory Hour here on YouTube. My name is Jim Gallagher. I'm the pastor at Clayville Assembly, who brings to you the content you observe here on our YouTube channel. And welcome to the Victory Hour. And invite your friends to listen in on the Victory Hour. We're talking about, we've been taking a break and talking about the Israel-Hamas war. And my call to you is be very, very cautious, be very, very skeptical. Men lie when it comes to war. And a lot of Christians, because they've got googly-eyed over fake Israel in the Middle East, which is very anti-Christian, by the way. Not as anti-Christian maybe as like Hamas, but, you know, they're running their heel like Jacob and Esau. It's not good. Yes, I know they're our good friends in the Middle East. You can't put a piece of computer paper between us and them. So we're told by the conservative neocons. But I'm saying that nations lie to get us involved in war and to justify themselves. I'm using an illustration. We've got to be skeptical with the whole Zionist enterprise, the thing with Hamas. Not that we trust Hamas. We don't. I don't trust them as far as I could throw them. But you got bad actors on both sides. And why should we make their wars our wars? Nikki Haley will say, well, because we're going to have friends. If we don't have friends, we won't be able to get along. Well, we're going to go bankrupt. We're destroying the hopes of a whole new generation who has lost the ability to have access to the American dream because of stuff like this. Now, I've been reading to you from a government document that was classified, but it's now been unclassified. You can get it. You can get it from the government printing office, or you can go online and just type in Operation Northwoods. You can find it in all sorts of places in PDF files. You can download it and read it for yourself. It's only 14 pages long. And our government is saying, this is what we can do to ourselves. We want to take out Fidel Castro. This is in 1962 when we were supposed to be quiet, boys and girls. You know, 1962, I'm not even sure if Leave It the Beaver made it on yet. And while we were quiet, boys and girls, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who is representing the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, the Joint Chiefs of Staff lays this document on the desk of the President of the United States, John Kennedy. And the function of this document is to say, here's a way that we can go and take out Fidel Castro. And we're told the function of this document, we're told, is to provide a description of pretexts which would provide justification for U.S. military intervention in Cuba. Pretexts that would provide justification for U.S. military intervention in Cuba. And so they say, wait a minute, now I got my pages out of order here. Here we go. Yeah, this is what we can do, they tell us. Land friendly Cubans now, not the commie bad guys. We can land friendly Cubans in Cuban uniforms. Land friendly Cubans in uniform, quote unquote, over the fence, end quote, to stage attack on base. That's the U.S. base near Guantanamo. Capture Cuban, in parentheses, they put friendly Cubans, our guys, our subcontractors, capture friendly Cuban saboteurs inside the base. It's fake. It's a lie. These guys are going to dress up like they're Castro's henchmen, and they infiltrate a U.S. military base as fake saboteurs. Stop riots, we're told, near the main base. Friendly Cubans, they say. Blow up ammunition inside the base. start fires. We're talking about a United States military installation. Burn aircraft, that's U.S. aircraft. Burn aircraft on airbase. Parentheses, sabotage. Lob mortar shells from outside the base into base, some damage to installations. And number 8, capture assault teams approaching from the sea or vicinity of Guantanamo City. Number 10, I'm just going to skip some of these. Sabotage ship in harbor. Large fires. Naphthalene. Number 11, sink ship near harbor entrance. Conduct funerals for mock victims. And in parentheses it says, maybe in lieu of item number 10. This is their plan. 1962. Number 3, Remember the Maine incident could be arranged in several forms. We could blow up a U.S. ship in Guantanamo Bay and blame Cuba. How much plainer could it be? We could blow up a drone unmanned vessel anywhere in the Cuban waters. And they go on to give a lot more detail, which would be interesting, but I don't have the time for that. Number 4, we could develop a communist Cuban terror campaign in the Miami area, in other Florida cities, and even in Washington. The terror. You know who the terrorists would be? Our government. On our people. Pretending it's Cubans, so we'd all hate them. And we'd know that God's on our side. And then we could go kill Fidel Castro. The terror campaign, we're told, could be pointed at Cuban refugees seeking haven in the United States. We could sink a boatload of Cubans en route to Florida. And in parentheses, they put real or simulated. If it was real, these are people trying to escape communism, to come to America, and then we'd kill them? And say Castro did it? We could foster attempts on lives of Cuban refugees in the United States, even to the extent of wounding in instances to be widely publicized. Exploding a few plastic bombs in carefully chosen spots, and on and on. The details are horrifying. I got to give you this one. This one's crafty. I want you to see the depths of what they're willing to do. Use of MiG-type aircraft. Now, MiG, that's a Russian MiG. That's a Russian fighter plane, right? Use of MiG-type. Now, we don't have any MiG jets, but we could come up with some fake ones. Use MiG-type aircraft by U.S. pilots. Let me read that again. Use of MiG-type aircraft by U.S. pilots could provide additional provocation. Harassment of civil air, attacks on surface shipping, and destruction of U.S. military drone aircraft by MiG-type planes would be useful as complementary actions. Oh, well, yeah. You got to have your gravy with the potatoes, too. An F-86, properly painted, would convince air passengers that they saw a Cuban MiG, especially if the pilot of the transport were to announce such a fact. I looked out the window. Hey, that was a Cuban MiG, he says over the loudspeaker. The primary drawback to this suggestion appears to be the security risk inherent in obtaining or modifying an aircraft. However, reasonable copies of the MiG could be produced from U.S. resources in about 3 months. Yeah, we can get that job done. Then they say hijacking attempts against civil air and service craft. Civil. hijacking of U.S. planes with U.S. civilians on it. Hijacking attempts against civil air and surface craft should appear to continue as harassing measures condoned by the government of Cuba. Skipping some things. Number 8, it is possible to create an incident in which will demonstrate convincingly that a Cuban aircraft has attacked and shot down a chartered civilian airliner en route from the United States to Jamaica, Guatemala, Panama, or Venezuela. The destination would be chosen only to cause the flight plan route to cross Cuba. The passengers should be a group of college students off on a holiday, or any grouping of persons with a common interest to support chartering a non-scheduled flight. Well, there you go. I mean, it's just unbelievable to read this. I mean, and the devil's in the details. I can't read all the details. I don't have time for it. When over Cuba, the drone will being transmitting on the international distress frequency a Mayday message stating he is under attack by Cuban MiG aircraft. The transmission will be interrupted by destruction of the aircraft, which will be triggered by radio signal. This will allow ICAO radio stations in the Western Hemisphere to tell the United States what has happened to the aircraft instead of the U.S. trying to sell the incident. It is possible to create an incident which will make it appear that communist Cuban MiGs have destroyed a USAF aircraft over international waters in an unprovoked attack. And on it goes. Now, let me make this clear. There's other things there I don't have time to get to. Do you need more? This is 1962. This was the program signed off by the American Joint Chiefs of Staff and placed on President Kennedy's desk for signing and getting the job done so we can do neocon regime change long before we thought the neocons were around, 1962. Now, thank God, President Kennedy said, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. So we didn't go through with it, but understand the Joint Chiefs of Staff said, let's do it. If it was another president, that may have happened. And the Joint Chiefs of Staff felt comfortable enough to make that presentation to the president. This is the days of Ozzie and Harriet. Kennedy got rid of Leominster within a few months after that. Good for him. And where are we now? Where are we now? Look who's president and look what's going on. I don't mean to scold you. I'm not scolding you. I'm angry at the thought of what's happening. There are people that need to be scolded. But wait a minute. I'm using this as a foundation upon which we can philosophically at least be cautious in entering what could perhaps be another global war to fight the Zionist cause of, well, according to their own writings, they really want world domination through revolution that's Marxist-oriented, but they really want it kind of governed and superintended over by the Zionists. Now, that may be way too much for many of you to handle, but I got a book at home. I could have brought it with me. By Shlomo Avner, professor at the Hebrew University in Jerusalem. And as a Zionist, he wrote a book, The Making of Modern Zionism, The Intellectual Origins to the Jewish State. And each chapter deals with a different Jewish person that was famous for making the Zionist nation come to be. One chapter is on Moses Hess, whom Karl Marx called, quote, my communist rabbi. That author, Shlomo Avineri from the Hebrew University, says that the foundation of the Zionist state of Israel was Marxist and revolutionary. Now, maybe they'd say, well, but we've kind of drifted from that. I'm not completely convinced. I'm sorry. In fact, I'm not even hardly convinced of any of that claim. Although, obviously, Israel has gone a little bit more in the direction of more capitalism than I expected with all their kibbutzes. And I mean, they were really revolutionary. Begin and that crowd, Shamir, they were radical revolutionaries. It's a contest of who gets to head up the international revolution. You had the Bolsheviks, the Mensheviks, and you had the Jewish Bund fighting for communist power in Russia during the revolution. Look, there's a whole bunch of history most Christians have no idea of. And all I'm saying is be skeptical. Because, as the Apostle Paul says, both Jews and Gentiles are all under sin. Romans 3:9. Can we believe the apostle, please? Please. Look, I've got to go. My time's up. Oh, listen, next week. So next week on Monday, I'm going to post a Thanksgiving sermon from Sunday. And then that Thursday is Thanksgiving, so I'm going to bypass that, take the day off. So next week, there'll only be one posting. It'll be on Monday. It'll be a Thanksgiving sermon, and I hope you can join us. And then after that, we'll get back to this. And I still haven't got my computer installed, but I'm looking for it to happen. Hopefully, by then, we'll be able to do that. But my time's up. I've got to go. This is Jim Gallagher, reminding you in the words of our blessed Lord and Savior, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.